I knew it was a bad idea the moment the lock snapped open. That rusty, forgotten unit, tucked away in the darkest corner of the facility, practically screamed, "Leave me alone." But curiosity, or maybe something darker, pulled me in. The air inside was thick, stale, like a tomb. Dust motes danced in the single beam of my flashlight, illuminating shadows that seemed to twist and writhe. I thought I was just looking for forgotten treasures, another piece of history to document. Instead, I found something that history tried to bury, something that wasn't meant to be seen. And now I can't unsee it. My flashlight beam, usually a steady guide, felt like a nervous tremor in my hand. It cut through the gloom, past stacks of forgotten furniture covered in white sheets, past cardboard boxes spilling out yellowed newspapers, until it settled on something in the far corner. It wasn't a box, it wasn't a piece of furniture. It was a shape. Roughly human-sized, hunched, and shrouded in what looked like heavy, dark tarpaulin, or perhaps multiple layers of thick, grimy canvas. The fabric was pulled taut, secured with what seemed to be industrial-strength tape, crisscrossing it like a macabre mummy. A cold dread seeped into my bones, a feeling far more profound than just the chill of the unheated unit. My breath hitched. I told myself it was just a mannequin, a prop from some long-forgotten business. But the way it slumped, the unnatural curve of its back, the distinct, almost organic outline beneath the wrapping, it felt wrong. The air, already heavy, seemed to press down on me, growing colder around that specific spot. And then I noticed the smell. Faint at first, beneath the dust and mildew, but undeniably there. A metallic, sickly sweet scent, like old blood mixed with something else, something decaying and utterly foul. My hand holding the camera and flashlight began to tremble uncontrollably. Every instinct screamed at me to turn and run, to slam the door shut and pretend I'd never seen this place. But the morbid curiosity, the same dark impulse that had pulled me into this tomb, held me rooted. I took a tentative step forward, then another. The lens struggled to focus, the autofocus whirring uselessly in the dim light. As I got closer, the flashlight beam caught a detail on the floor near the base of the wrapped figure. A dark, dried stain. It wasn't just dust. It was a large, irregular splotch, a deep, reddish brown, almost black in the poor light, that had seeped into the concrete. My stomach lurched. This wasn't a prop. This wasn't junk. This was a burial, or a containment. My mind raced, trying to find a rational explanation, but every possibility that surfaced was worse than the last. Was it an animal? Too big. Was it a person? The thought sent a jolt of pure terror through me, making my heart hammer against my ribs. I could feel the sweat prickling on my forehead despite the cold. I had to know. I had to see. My fingers, numb with fear, fumbled for the edge of the tarp. But before I could touch it, my light caught something else, tucked beneath the base of the figure, almost hidden by the shadows. A small wooden box. Not a typical storage container, but more like a keepsake box, dark and weathered, with a rusted, intricate clasp. It looked old, and it looked like it held a secret of its own, perhaps even darker than the one wrapped before me. I hesitated, my hand hovering between the terrifying shroud and the mysterious box. The silence in the unit was absolute, broken only by my own ragged breathing. The silence in the unit was absolute, broken only by my own ragged breathing. My heart hammered, a frantic drum against my ribs. The wrapped figure loomed, a silent, terrifying question mark. But the box, small and unassuming, felt like a gateway, a less direct path to whatever horror lay beneath the tarp. My hand, still trembling, slowly lowered from the macabre mummy and reached for the wooden box. It was heavier than I expected, the wood dark and smooth despite its age, worn to a soft polish in places. The rusted clasp and intricate design of intertwined serpents resisted my fumbling fingers for a moment before giving way with a soft, metallic click that echoed too loudly in the oppressive quiet. I lifted the lid, holding my breath. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet-like cloth, was a single leather-bound journal. Its pages were yellowed and brittle, the corners dog-eared. There was also a small, tarnished silver locket and a single, dried rose, its petals a skeletal whisper of their former vibrant life. I carefully picked up the journal, the old leather feeling strangely warm in my cold hands. The front page was blank, but as I turned to the first entry, my flashlight beam illuminated a date, faded but legible. October 27, 1987. Beneath it, in a delicate looping script, a name, Eleanor Vance. My gaze flickered from the journal to the wrapped figure, then back. Eleanor Vance. Was this hers? Was she under that tarp? A fresh wave of nausea washed over me. I scanned the first few lines of the entry, my eyes darting across the faded ink. The dreams are growing worse. He watches me, even when I'm awake. The whispers from the walls, they want me to join them. My blood ran cold. He watches me. The whispers. What in God's name had happened here? I felt a sudden intense chill, not just from the unheated unit, but a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like an unseen presence. The air around the wrapped figure seemed to thicken, pressing in, and I could almost feel eyes on me, heavy and ancient. The metallic, sickly sweet smell intensified, making my throat clench. My flashlight beam wavered, the light dancing nervously over the shadowed corners of the unit, making the stacked furniture seem to shift, to lean in closer. I tightened my grip on the journal, my fingers almost crushing the old leather. This wasn't just a story now, it was a confession, a testament. And the author, Eleanor Vance, was perhaps still here, somehow, trapped in this dreadful space. The journal in my hand felt like a direct link, a desperate plea from the past, pulling me deeper into the horror that this storage unit guarded. And now, the wrapped figure in the corner, the one I had initially feared, felt less like a threat and more like a tragic, silent witness. A witness to what, I still couldn't fathom, but the dread was a living, breathing thing in the room with me now. The dread was a living, breathing thing in the room with me now. It wrapped around me, chilling me to the bone, a cold far deeper than the unheated air. Eleanor Vance. The name echoed in my head, linking the delicate script to the terrifying presence shrouded before me. My eyes, wide and darting, scanned the journal, desperate for answers, yet terrified of what they might reveal. I flipped past a few more blank pages, my fingers fumbling, until another entry caught my trembling gaze. November 15th, 1987. The date was only a few weeks after the first. The handwriting, though still elegant, seemed more frantic, the ink pressed harder into the brittle paper. "He says it's for my own good," I read aloud, my voice a thin, reedy whisper in the vast silence. To keep the whispers out. But now, they're in here with me. And he's in here with me. Or a part of him. I can hear him breathing. I can smell him. The journal slipped slightly in my sweat-slicked hands. My breath hitched, a ragged sound in the oppressive quiet. The metallic, sickly sweet odor, which had been a faint undercurrent, now surged, thick and cloying, filling my nostrils, making my stomach churn. I could practically taste it. His smell. The words reverberated through me, transforming the wrapped figure from a tragic victim into something infinitely more complex and horrifying. Not just a burial, but a containment. And Eleanor believed he was still with her, a part of him. My gaze snapped up from the journal to the dark, hulking shape. The flashlight beam, now a frantic, shaky circle, danced over the taut, grimy tarpaulin. I saw it then, something I'd missed before in my initial terror. Not industrial tape, but thick, dark straps, almost like leather belts, crisscrossing the entire form, cinched tight, digging into the unseen mass beneath. And near the base, where the dark stain marred the concrete, I noticed a faint, almost invisible sheen on the fabric, a sticky, dried residue that caught the light with an unsettling glint. It looked like varnish, or something meant to preserve. My mind raced, piecing together the fragments. He wrapped her, he contained her, and he left her here, in this forgotten tomb. But why, and who was he? The whispers, the cold that now seemed to emanate directly from the wrapped figure, seeping into my very bones, was unbearable. I could feel the hairs on my arms standing on end. Every instinct screamed at me to slam the journal shut, to drop it, to run. But the morbid curiosity, the desperate need to understand, held me captive. I had to know what happened to Eleanor Vance. I had to know what he was, and what was still here, trapped in this dreadful space. The journal in my hand felt less like a desperate plea and more like a curse, binding me to this horror. I slowly turned another page, my eyes fixed on the next entry, dreading what new terror it would unveil. My fingers brushed against the brittle paper, and a cold shiver ran down my spine as I saw the date, November 20th, 1987. The handwriting was almost illegible now, jagged and desperate, as if scrawled in a frenzy. "He's finished me," I whispered, reading the words aloud, my voice cracking. "He sealed me, not to keep the whispers out, but to keep him in. He built this shell, this monument, from my flesh, from my bones. He said it would make us one, that I would become the whispers. And now I am. I can feel them crawling inside, and I can feel him. He's waiting. He's always waiting. He knows when someone comes to visit his creation. He knows when someone reads my words. And now, he knows you are here." The last word hung in the air, a chilling echo that resonated not just in my ears, but deep within my chest. My blood ran to ice. The journal slipped from my grasp, clattering to the concrete floor with a sickening thud. But I barely registered it. My gaze was locked, frozen on the wrapped figure. The metallic, sickly sweet smell was no longer just an odor. It was a physical presence, sick and suffocating, filling my lungs with its rotten sweetness. It was the smell of decay, yes, but also something else, something alive, festering. And then I saw it. A tremor, a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the heavy tarpaulin. My breath caught in my throat, a strangled gasp that died before it could escape. The straps, those thick, dark straps, seemed to tighten, to strain. A low, guttural moan, a sound like dry, ancient bones grinding together, emanated from deep within the wrapped form. It wasn't human. It was something far older, far more terrible. My flashlight beam, which had been dancing nervously, now seemed to shrink, its light dimming, flickering. The shadows around the figure deepened, twisting into grotesque caricatures. I could feel the cold radiating from it, a palpable, soul-numbing chill that seeped into my very core. My vision blurred at the edges, and my ears began to ring, a high-pitched whine that drowned out everything but the sound of my own frantic heart. The tarpaulin stretched, a faint tearing sound, like old fabric giving way. And then a single dark seam, near what I now realized was its head, began to part. A sliver of darkness, deeper than any shadow, opened up. And from that void, a single, wet, clicking sound, like a monstrous insect awakening from a long, terrible slumber. I tried to scream, but no sound came. My legs were stone, my arms were useless. My entire body was frozen in a primal, unyielding terror. It wasn't just a body wrapped in a tarp. It was a prison, and something was breaking free. And it knew I was here. It knew I had read the words. And it was coming for me. The darkness swallowed me whole. I don't remember running, only a primal, deafening roar in my ears, not from the creature, but from my own terror-stricken mind. The next thing I knew, I was outside, gasping for air, the cold night breeze a shock against my sweat-drenched skin. The storage unit door was slammed shut, the heavy metal clanging like a death knell. I don't know how I got it closed, or if it even mattered. All I could hear was that wet, clicking sound, echoing in the cavern of my skull, and the image of that parting seam, a void opening into something unspeakable. I left everything behind, the camera, the flashlight, Eleanor's journal. I couldn't touch them, couldn't bear to be near anything that had been in that place. The police found nothing, of course, just an abandoned unit, a few dusty boxes, and a perfectly ordinary tarp covering nothing. They called it a prank, a delusion. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. The smell still clings to me, a phantom stench that makes my stomach turn. The cold still seeps into my bones, even in the warmest room. Sometimes, late at night, I hear a faint whisper, just at the edge of hearing, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. And I wonder, is it Eleanor or is it him? Is it the whispers she spoke of, finally free? I don't sleep much anymore. I just watch the shadows, always watching. It knows I'm here. It knows I read the words. And I can't help but wonder if any of you out there, have ever stumbled upon a secret so dark, so buried, that it refused to stay hidden. A secret that once seen became a part of you forever.